What if I told you that your chronic pain, your anxiety, and the weight you carry on your shoulders are not a life sentence? What if I told you there's a biological switch inside you that can turn all of that off in minutes? This isn't an empty promise. It's a 5,000-year-old technology created in ancient Egypt that was so powerful it was deliberately banned and hidden from history. But now the secret is out. Stanford neuroscientists, in a study that's alarming the medical community, accidentally discovered the key. They proved that a specific breathing sequence, once linked to the god of wisdom, Thoth, forces your brain to flood your body with a molecule that erases pain and shuts off the stress alarm. They watched it happen in real time on brain scans. What they still don't know is why this knowledge was considered so dangerous. And the answer is simple. It doesn't just heal, it gives you control. In this video, I won't just tell you the story. I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step protocol. You're going to learn how to use this tool today. Stay until the end, because your life as you feel it is about to change forever. If you believe you were born to be more than pain and anxiety, comment, "I claim my power." Improper breathing is the root of most diseases. If breathing is not correct, there is no health. The reason why this ancient secret remained hidden in plain sight is because it hides in the most obvious and fundamental part of our existence: breathing. Think about that for a second. Breathing is the only vital function in our body that operates in two systems at the same time. It belongs to the autonomic nervous system, the one that runs on autopilot, keeping you alive while you sleep, work, or get distracted. But it also belongs to the somatic nervous system, the system of conscious control. At any moment, you can choose to breathe faster, slower, or hold your breath. And it's exactly in this duality, this bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, that an unimaginable power resides. When you take conscious control of your breathing, you're not just moving air in and out of your lungs. You're actually hacking into the control panel of your nervous system. Imagine your brain as a security center and the fight or flight system as an overly sensitive fire alarm. For most of us, living in a world of constant stress, tight deadlines, and information overload, this alarm is always going off, even when there's no fire. It floods our body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, creating muscle tension, anxiety, and eventually chronic pain. What the ancient sages discovered, and what modern science now confirms, is that breathing is the manual switch to turn that alarm off. By deliberately manipulating the rhythm and depth of your breath, you send a direct and unmistakable signal to the most primitive part of your brain, the brainstem. The message is clear. Everything's okay, the danger has passed, you can deactivate emergency mode. This conscious command overrides the automatic stress reaction, forcing the body to exit the fight or flight state and enter its opposite, the parasympathetic state, known as repair and restore mode. It is in this repair state that the real magic happens. When the stress alarm is silenced, the body can finally redirect its energy toward maintenance and healing. Digestion improves, blood pressure drops, muscles relax, and more importantly, the brain begins to operate on a different frequency. You're not just feeling calmer, you're actively creating the biological conditions for your body to heal. Chronic pain, which is often just an echo of a stress alarm that was never turned off, begins to lose its signal, its reason to exist. What the scientists at Stanford observed in their brain scans was exactly that. a dramatic shift in neural activity. Areas of the brain associated with fear and reactivity, like the amygdala, showed reduced activity, while areas linked to awareness and emotional regulation, like the prefrontal cortex, lit up. They were witnessing, in real time, the power of consciousness over biology. They were seeing a voluntary act, controlled breathing, alter the brain's chemistry and electrical patterns in a way that was previously thought possible only with powerful medication. But how exactly does this state change happen? What does this specific breathing pattern do in your bloodstream that triggers such a powerful healing cascade? The answer lies in a specific molecule, a substance scientists are calling brain fertilizer. By breathing in a particular way, you flood your system with this molecule, giving your brain not just permission, but the resources it needs to build new neural pathways and dissolve old patterns of pain and suffering. Science is only beginning to name what the ancients simply called power. The chemistry of instant healing. The answer to the question we left hanging is in the chemistry. When you begin applying this ancient breathing technique, something extraordinary and immediate happens inside you at a molecular level. The groundbreaking Stanford study that is shaking the foundations of neuroscience was able to measure exactly this transformation. They discovered that specific, controlled breathing patterns can drastically increase the levels of a miracle molecule in your brain, a protein known as brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or simply BDNF. And this is where the game completely turns in your favor. Think of BDNF as a superfood or high-potency fertilizer for your neurons. Its main function is to stimulate neurogenesis, which is the birth of new brain cells, something that, until recently, science believed was impossible in adults. But the power of BDNF goes far beyond that. It also strengthens existing synapses, the connections between neurons, improving memory, focus, and thought speed. Even more important for our discussion, BDNF actively helps dissolve old, rigid neural pathways that sustain patterns of chronic pain, trauma, and anxiety. By breathing in a specific way, you're essentially telling your body to produce more of this brain fertilizer. You're giving your brain the raw material it needs to rebuild itself, to heal. It's not a passive cure, it's active reconstruction. The neural pathways that fire pain signals for no reason, like a broken alarm, begin to be dismantled and replaced with new, healthier, quieter ones. You're not masking the pain with a painkiller. You're uninstalling the program that generates the pain in the first place, directly at its source. But the chemical cascade doesn't stop there. This same breathing technique has another powerful and immediate effect. It directly stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the largest information highway in your body, a bundle of nerve fibers that runs from your brain to all your vital organs. It's the main component of the parasympathetic nervous system, the repair and restore system we mentioned. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you massage and tone this nerve, sending a wave of calm throughout your entire body, shutting down the stress response almost instantly. This combination is the secret formula of healing. On one hand, you're calming your entire nervous system through the vagus nerve, creating an internal environment of safety and relaxation. On the other hand, you're flooding your brain with BDNF, giving it the tools to reorganize and heal within this new safe space. It's the perfect marriage between calm and reconstruction, The ancient Egyptians may not have known the terms BDNF or vagus nerve, but they understood the result. They called it inner alchemy, the transmutation of suffering into peace. Modern neuroscience has simply given new names to this ancient magic. Now you understand the what and the why. You know that breathing can change the chemistry of your brain and calm your nervous system. You know this happens through vagus nerve stimulation and the production of BDNF. Science has validated the wisdom. But how exactly do you do it? What is the precise protocol, the exact sequence that Thoth encoded and Stanford scientists rediscovered? The technique to activate this entire healing cascade is disarmingly simple, and it's within your reach right now. It doesn't require years of practice, silent retreats, or complicated yoga poses. It's a straightforward protocol, a code that can be applied anywhere, anytime. Known as the 555 protocol, it is the practical application of Thoth's wisdom. The first step is to find a comfortable position, sitting or lying down, but with your spine relatively upright. This isn't about mysticism, it's about physiology. It allows your diaphragm to move freely and energy to flow through your body without obstruction. Now we move to the first act of the protocol, the inhale. Close your mouth and begin to slowly draw air in through your nose, counting mentally to 5. The breath should be smooth and deep, coming from your abdomen, not your chest. Feel your belly expand like a balloon. And here comes the crucial detail, the small secret that amplifies the entire process. As you inhale, gently press the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth, in the soft area just behind your front teeth. This simple act activates a set of nerves that sends an amplified signal of calm and presence to your brain, preparing it for the next step. The second act is the pause, the hold. After inhaling for 5 seconds, simply hold the air in your lungs. Maintain the count for another 5 seconds. This is not a moment of tension, it's a moment of suspended silence. It's in this stillness that the inner alchemy truly happens. The oxygen you just inhaled has time to fully saturate your cells and bloodstream. At the same time, a slight rise in carbon dioxide levels occurs, and this precise combination is the trigger that signals your brain to release BDNF, the brain fertilizer, and tone the vagus nerve. It's the pause that turns air into medicine. The third and final act is the exhale. After the 5 seconds of holding, gently release the air through your mouth, again counting to 5. Don't force it, just let it go. Imagine you're not only releasing carbon dioxide, but also the tension in your shoulders, the worry in your mind, the pain lodged in your body. Each exhale is a cleansing, a letting go. The soft sound of your breath out becomes the soundtrack of your release. This full 15-second cycle is a single powerful command to your entire nervous system. Every element of this protocol is designed with biological precision. Nasal inhalation filters and warms the air, and the tongue on the roof of the mouth amplifies the neural signal. The breath hold is the chemical trigger for neuroplasticity and deep relaxation. The slow exhale through the mouth completes the release cycle, confirming to your system that you are safe. You're not just breathing, you're communicating with your body in the most fundamental language it understands, the language of breath. You're taking control of your internal state in a direct and powerful way. This is the protocol. Inhale through the nose for 5, hold for 5, exhale through the mouth for 5. simple yet profoundly transformative. It's the key Thoth left us, rediscovered by modern science. But knowing the protocol is just the beginning. What truly matters is what you feel when you put it into practice. The transformation isn't theoretical, it's a physical and mental experience that happens almost immediately. And what happens in your body and mind after just a few cycles is even more impressive than the science behind it. The transformation you can feel in minutes. The beauty of this ancient protocol lies not only in its simplicity, but in how quickly it works. The change is not subtle or something you need to strain to notice after a few weeks. It's an almost immediate transformation, a shift in physiological state that you can feel happening in your body within minutes. After completing just 3 cycles of the 5-5-5 protocol, the first thing many people notice is a real physical sensation. A wave of warmth may begin to spread across your chest or abdomen, or a gentle tingling might appear in your fingertips and toes. This isn't your imagination, it's your biology responding. That feeling of warmth and tingling is the physical sign that your nervous system is shifting gears. It's evidence of vasodilation, the expansion of your blood vessels as the fight or flight system powers down and the repair and restore system takes over. Oxygen-rich blood begins to flow more freely to the extremities of your body, areas that are usually restricted during stress. Your body is literally opening up, releasing its defensive armor. Energy that was stuck, trapped in tense muscles and a constant state of alert, finally begins to move. Continue for 2 more cycles, reaching 5 full rounds. Now, the shift begins to happen on a mental level. Notice what happens to the background noise in your head, that endless chatter of worries, to-do lists, and self-criticism most of us accept as normal. It begins to lower in volume. Mental chaos quiets, giving way to a silence that isn't empty or scary, but spacious and full of potential. It's as if someone finally turned off a poorly tuned radio that had been playing non-stop in the background of your awareness. Clarity begins to rise naturally. By the time you complete 10 cycles, something even deeper happens. Your brain, measured by EEG, begins to shift its operating frequency. It moves out of beta waves, which are associated with active thinking and stress, and into alpha and eventually theta states. Theta waves are the domain of deep relaxation, creativity, and subconscious connection. This is the same brain state that experienced Tibetan monks spend decades learning to access at will through meditation, and you can get there in under 10 minutes, just by using your breath as your guide. In this theta state, the transformation becomes undeniable. The chronic tension you may have carried in your shoulders and neck for years begins to melt like ice in the sun. The tension headache that lingered in the background of your day starts to lose its grip. Its intensity fades until it disappears. The mental fog that makes decision-making exhausting lifts, revealing crystal-clear clarity of thought. You're not just imagining that you feel better. You're actively changing your physiological and neurological state into one of coherence and balance. The most incredible part is that this wisdom, this inner technology, was not an isolated accident in history. The proof that this knowledge is not just a cultural belief, but a fundamental truth about human biology, doesn't lie only in the sands of Egypt. Thousands of miles away, in the isolated, freezing peaks of the Himalayas, another ancient tradition preserved a similar key. though practiced in a drastically different way. Tibetan Buddhist monks, through a secret practice known as tummo, or the inner fire breathing, learned to manipulate their nervous system in ways that Western science, until very recently, considered absolutely impossible and fraudulent. The practice of tummo involves a combination of vigorous breathing techniques and focused mental visualizations. Through these methods, monks are able to generate an extraordinary amount of body heat. In documented experiments, advanced practitioners were able to sit naked in the snow for hours, in sub-zero temperatures, and not only survive, but dry wet, frozen sheets placed over their bodies using only the heat they radiated. This is not a party trick. It is a profound mastery of the autonomic nervous system, the ability to consciously control the body's thermoregulation. While Thoth's Egyptian technique, the 5-5-5 protocol, focuses on calm, regulation, and activation of the parasympathetic repair and restore system, the Tibetan tummo technique appears to do the opposite. It focuses on intensity, deliberately activating the sympathetic fight-or-flight system in a controlled way, generating heat and energy. On the surface, the two techniques seem like polar opposites. One is the brake, the other is the accelerator. And yet the underlying truth that connects them both is the same and reveals an even deeper secret about our potential. The fundamental principle uniting the Egyptian priest and the Tibetan monk is this: breath is the remote control for our biology and our consciousness. Both traditions, separated by vast geographic distances and centuries of history, independently discovered that by consciously modulating the rhythm, depth, and intensity of breath, they could hack their own operating system. They learned to directly influence their internal state, whether to create calm and healing or to generate heat and energy, transcending the limitations most of us accept as normal. The fact that such distinct cultures arrived at the same universal conclusion points to an undeniable truth about the human condition. This isn't an Egyptian invention or a Tibetan discovery. It's an inherent feature of human design, a latent ability waiting to be awakened within each of us. The ancient masters didn't protect this knowledge to deprive others, but because they understood its power could only be truly grasped and respected through direct experience, not through mere intellect or reading a text. They knew that by mastering breath, you're not just controlling oxygen and carbon dioxide. You're learning to control your energy, your emotions, and ultimately your own consciousness. Both the deep calm of Thoth's technique and the intense fire of tummo are just different applications of the same universal principle. And now that you understand the principle and know the protocol for calm and healing, the next question is, what happens when you turn this practice from a few-minute experiment into a daily habit? What happens when you commit to this transformation consistently? The end of chronic pain, the timeline of healing. The promise of this ancient technique is not a vague and distant enlightenment, a mystical goal you may never reach. It is a concrete, measurable, and, most importantly, predictable transformation that unfolds along a clear timeline. When you begin practicing the 5-5-5 protocol consistently, even if only for 10 minutes a day, you initiate a process of recalibrating your nervous system, and the results appear much faster than you might think. After just 2 days of practicing twice a day, the first noticeable change happens while you sleep. Your sleep quality becomes deeper and more restorative. This happens because the practice calms the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for keeping you in a state of alertness. By lowering cortisol levels, the stress hormone, before sleep, you allow your body to enter the deeper stages of sleep more easily, where true cellular repair and memory consolidation occur. As a result, you wake up feeling more rested and energized. During the day, you'll notice a reduction in your reactivity. Small irritations that used to set you off, like traffic or a rude comment, lose their power over you. You gain precious space between stimulus and response. By the end of the 7th day, cognitive improvements become undeniable. The mental fog begins to lift, giving way to sharper focus and clearer thinking. Decision-making, which once felt exhausting, becomes quicker and more intuitive. This is a direct result of increased BDNF and improved brain oxygenation. At this point, many people who suffer from chronic tension headaches report significant relief, or even complete disappearance. The pain, once a symptom of constant tension, simply no longer has a stressed environment in which to thrive. Continue the practice for 3 weeks, and this is where the transformation becomes deep and lasting. You're no longer just managing day-to-day stress. You've actively built new neural pathways. Your brain, thanks to its remarkable neuroplasticity, has literally restructured itself. Old patterns of pain, anxiety, and reactivity, once like high-speed highways in your brain, have been overlaid by new patterns of calm, clarity, and well-being. This isn't a temporary fix or a band-aid. It's a fundamental recalibration of your neurological set point. Chronic pain, in particular, begins to lose its identity. Often, pain that lingers for months or years is no longer a sign of active physical injury, but rather a learned pattern by the nervous system, a phantom echo the brain has gotten used to generating. Consistent breathwork practice interrupts that loop. It teaches your nervous system that it's safe, that it no longer needs to sound the pain alarms. I know of a man who suffered from debilitating migraines for 15 years. He tried everything. Within 1 week of consistent practice, they disappeared. The pain wasn't structural, it was a neurological habit. And what can be learned can be unlearned. By rebooting your nervous system, you're not just eliminating a symptom, you're addressing the root cause. The pain wasn't the real problem. It was the consequence of a dysregulated system stuck in a cycle of stress and alert. By using breath to break that cycle, you allow your body's innate intelligence to resume its work of healing and maintenance. And this ability to use an internal tool to influence the physical world is the practical expression of a universal principle that ancient sages like Thoth understood perfectly, and that governs all of existence. The surprising effectiveness of this breathing technique is not a biological accident. It works with such precision because it is aligned with the fundamental laws that govern the universe. Principles that Hermetic wisdom, attributed to Thoth himself, codified thousands of years ago. The most famous of these principles, and the key to understanding everything we're discussing, is the principle of correspondence, summarized in the axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above. This is not poetry, it's a description of a universal mechanism. It states that there is harmony and correspondence between different planes of existence. Applied to our discussion, this principle reveals something profound. The below is your microcosm, your body, your mind, your breath. The above is the macrocosm, the universe, the laws of nature, the cosmic rhythms. The principle tells us that what happens on one level reflects and influences what happens on the other. So by consciously controlling the rhythm of your breath, the below, you are actually tuning into and influencing the larger rhythms of life and health, the above. You're using a small key to turn a large gear. Modern neuroscience calls this the mind-body connection. The ancients understood it as a universal law. Another Hermetic principle that comes into play is the principle of vibration, which states, "Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates." Modern science confirms this at every level, from subatomic particles to distant galaxies. Everything is energy at different frequencies of vibration. Your emotional and mental states are also vibrations. Stress, fear, and pain are low-frequency, chaotic, and dissonant states. Calm, clarity, and love are high-frequency, coherent, and harmonious states. By changing the rhythm of your breath, you are literally changing your own vibrational frequency. You are deliberately choosing to step out of the frequency of stress and tune into the frequency of calm. This is not a metaphor, it is physics. Controlled breathing creates coherence in your heart rhythm, which in turn creates coherence in your brain waves, raising your overall vibrational frequency. You become a more ordered and harmonious energy field, and in that state, the dissonance of chronic pain simply cannot sustain itself. You are applying a fundamental law of the universe directly to your biology to create health and well-being. The principle of mentalism, the first Hermetic principle, ties all of this together. It states that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This means that the fundamental reality is consciousness, and the material universe is a manifestation of that consciousness. Your brain, with its incredible neuroplasticity, is living proof of this principle. It is malleable, capable of reorganizing itself based on your thoughts, focus, and intentions. By using breath to calm the system and generate BDNF, you are creating the ideal conditions for your mind, consciousness, to reshape your brain, matter. Breath, then, reveals itself as the most practical and powerful tool we have to apply these metaphysical principles in our daily lives. It is the bridge that connects the physical and the philosophical, the body and the mind, the microcosm and the macrocosm. It transforms abstract concepts about vibration and consciousness into a direct and tangible experience of healing and transformation. But the power of this technique is not limited to erasing pain or calming anxiety. Once you clear the static of suffering, something else begins to happen. You open a portal to a new level of consciousness. The portal to a new level of consciousness. Once you begin practicing consistently and remove the constant static of pain and chronic stress, something remarkable happens. The mental space that was once occupied by the noise of worry and physical discomfort becomes clear. And in this new inner silence, you start to gain access to a level of clarity, intuition, and perception that was previously completely inaccessible, drowned out by the constant alarm of your nervous system. The elimination of pain is not the final destination of the journey. It's only the first step, the clearing of the ground so that something new and far more powerful can be built. By practicing the 5-5-5 protocol, you learn how to consciously enter alpha and theta brainwave states. These states aren't just for relaxation, they are the portal to your subconscious. It's in this heightened state of receptivity that the mind becomes more plastic, more open to new suggestions and intentions. Ancient sages and esoteric traditions from around the world knew this was the realm of manifestation, the state where the boundary between thought and reality becomes thinner and more permeable. You're not just relieving suffering, you're accessing the control panel of your own reality. Think about it. When you're in a state of stress and reactivity, you are a victim of your circumstances and automatic programming. Your life is a series of reactions to external events. But when you learn to cultivate calm and presence, you step out of the passenger seat and take the wheel. You stop being the leaf in the wind, tossed by every gust of stress, and become the tree with deep roots, able to watch the wind pass without being broken by it. You become the architect of your internal experience instead of a product of it. This shift in perspective touches every area of your life. Decisions become clearer because they're no longer clouded by fear and anxiety. Your creativity flourishes because you gain access to deeper parts of your mind. Your relationships improve because you're no longer projecting your own tension and reactivity onto others. You begin operating from a place of centeredness, balance, and quiet power. The true reward of this practice isn't just the absence of pain, it's the presence of expanded awareness. You start to realize that most of what you considered your automatic reactions, your chronic worries, your victim stories, was just a program running in a dysregulated nervous system. By learning to regulate that system, you discover who you are beneath all that noise. You reconnect with a more authentic and powerful version of yourself. Breathwork becomes less about fixing something that's broken and more about remembering something that was forgotten. Your innate ability to create your own state of being. This is the real power that may have been feared and hidden. Not power over others, but power over yourself. It's personal sovereignty, the ability to choose how you feel. And now we arrive at the turning point, the moment that separates mere knowledge from true transformation. The raw truth is this: 99% of people who come across this information, who understand the science behind it and are amazed by its potential, will do absolutely nothing. They'll file it away as an interesting fact, maybe share it with a friend, and tomorrow they'll wake up and repeat the exact same patterns that keep them stuck in pain and stress. Knowledge without action is just intellectual entertainment. It's the illusion of progress that changes nothing. The wisdom of Thoth, the archetype of applied knowledge, was never meant to be just read on papyrus or discussed in temples. It was meant to be lived, breathed, embodied. He teaches us that wisdom only comes to life and gains power through deliberate action. So the invitation I'm offering you now is not just to understand, but to practice. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Commit to yourself for just 7 days. It's a test, a personal experiment to prove to yourself the power you carry. Just 10 minutes a day, that's the only requirement. The application is simple. 5 minutes in the morning, before the chaos of the world invades your mind, to calibrate your nervous system and set the tone for your day. And 5 minutes at night to clear out the mental static, release the tension, and prepare your body for deep healing during sleep. Don't treat this as just another task on your to-do list. Treat it as a sacred ritual, an act of direct communication with your body's own intelligence. It's a moment when you stop being a passenger and take command of your internal state. Remember, science and ancient wisdom, which were at odds for so long, now speak in unison on this point. Your brain is plastic, your nervous system is adaptable. It will rewire itself if you give it the right, consistent inputs. The technique has been revealed. The protocol has been laid out. The path is lit. There is nothing more to explain, only something to experience. The ability to erase your pain, quiet your anxiety, and rewrite your internal story is literally one breath away. The only question that remains, and only you can answer it, is, will you walk this path? Will you be part of the 1% who choose transformation over inertia? The door has been opened. You don't need to believe me. You only need to believe in your own ability to breathe and in your body's intelligence. The choice to walk through that door is, and always will be, yours. The power has always been in your hands, or more accurately, in your lungs. If you've made it this far, it's because you're not like most people. You felt the call. So that I know you're on this path, leave a comment with the phrase, "My healing is in my breath." Your presence until the end of this video is already a huge help to the channel, and I'm truly grateful for it. If you feel called in your heart to support our work more directly so we can keep spreading content like this, there's a link to contribute in the first pinned comment. Any help is very meaningful to me and to the growth of the channel. But even if you can't, just sharing this video with someone who needs to hear this message already makes a massive difference. And before you go, don't leave just yet. Your journey doesn't have to stop here. I've picked a special video for you to take the next step, to go even deeper into what we've discussed and apply it in an even more powerful way. Click on the video that's showing on your screen now. I'll meet you there.